Hey everybody, and welcome to your first step into the world of PHP, a powerful scripting language that's still running the backbone of the web. From powering parts of Facebook to platforms like WordPress and Wikipedia, PHP is everywhere. In this video, we're going to explore what PHP is, how it works with HTML, how to set up your local environment using XAMPP and VS Code, and finally, running our own PHP script. And just so you know, PHP might be old, but it's far from outdated. In fact, it's still used in nearly 80% of the websites today, and it's a great starting point for backend development. So are you ready to make your computer speak PHP? Let's get on with it. First of all, what even is PHP? PHP starts for Hypertext Preprocessor. Yes, the acronym is kind of backwards, but let's not stress over that. PHP is a server-side scripting language, which means that it runs on the server and not on your web browser. The server processes the PHP code and sends the result, like plain HTML, to your browser. Imagine you log into a site and it says, "Hello Alex." That's PHP pulling your name from a database and generating the personalized HTML to show you on your browser. Think of PHP as a chef in the kitchen. Your browser places an order, PHP cooks the data, and your screen shows the finished meal, which is the HTML page. And here's the cool part. PHP can be written entirely inside regular HTML code. And let's look at this very example. Inside this index.php file, we have written our HTML structure and our PHP code as well. The HTML is, regular HTML, but the PHP code contains inside this angular brackets and then question mark tags. So this is the official PHP tag. Echo, this is printed using PHP, is PHP code, and everything else is HTML code. When your browser requests this page, the server runs the PHP code and replaces the output with plain text, sending only HTML to your browser. And that's the magic of PHP. The gist is that for this system or for this code to work, the code should be saved inside a PHP file and not a HTML file. And I will show you what I mean using our own coding compiler. So we have coding.php, that is our PHP compiler loaded up in coding. If I run this code, both welcome, that is HTML code, and this is printed using PHP, which is of course PHP code, is loaded onto our output or our web page, for example. But if we write this same code inside an HTML file, we can see that only the HTML bit is printed out. So for this system to work, the code should be saved inside a PHP file. Alright, now that we have some basic knowledge about what PHP is, it's time to set things up. To run PHP code, we need a local server, and the easiest tool for this is something called XAMPP. It includes Apache, which will be our web server, and PHP bundled together. And for downloading XAMPP, we can just type out XAMPP download in our web browser and hit enter. In the first link, there will be a link to which will lead to a download page for XAMPP. And you can download XAMPP according to your operating system. I have Windows, so I will download the latest version, that is 8.2.12 at the time of recording this video. I'll download this, and this should start a download on your browser. Okay, so here is the installer. I'll just click download unverified file, and this will start the download of the file. So as you can see, this is being downloaded, and I'll continue the video after the file is downloaded. Okay, so my file has finished downloading. Now I will execute this executable file. Okay, so it says welcome to XAMPP, and okay, so we'll click on next, and then we need all of these files, not all of these, but I'll just leave it as it is. So next, and this will save in our C drive, and this is the default location, so I'll just click next. I will prefer the English language, so yes, and then next, and it will just start to install. It will install like any other app, and after that we'll open the XAMPP control panel and click on start next to Apache, which will be our web server. So we'll wait for XAMPP to download first. Okay, after your software is done installing, you might come across this window right here, which is Windows Security Alert. You have to click on Allow Access, and after that you will be prompted with this window. Do you want to start the control panel right now? As we are going to use XAMPP right now, I'll click on this, I'll tick on this, and I'll click on finish, and the XAMPP control panel should launch. So this is our control panel right here. After opening the control panel, we have to click on start next to Apache, since this will be our local server. After clicking on start, your local server is now live and ready to interpret PHP scripts. So Apache is the web server that allows your PHP scripts to run. When you click start on Apache, you're basically launching your local mini internet. After we are done installing XAMPP on our local device, we can head over to the C drive or main drive of our installation, which we picked. I picked the default, so it is in local disk C in my case, and we can see here that there is a XAMPP folder, and inside this folder we can see a folder called htdocs, and all of the documents or files that will be kept in folders will be kept in this htdocs folder. So inside this htdocs folder, I will create a new folder, and let's call it php-basics, and hit enter and create this folder. And just a quick tip, we should always use lowercase file or folder names without spaces. We can use hyphens or underscores instead. These help in cross-platform operations and during mentioning or typing out the name of our file or folder in URLs, which I'll be showing you in just a while. So after creating this PHP basics folder, we can open it. We can head over to this bar right here, location, and then we can type out cmd. I hope you guys have VS Code already installed. If you don't have it installed, we have a video on our channel right here, so you can install it using that tutorial. I'm assuming most of you have already installed VS Code, so after opening our command prompt through our newly made folders location, we can just type out code and space dot and hit enter. Now what this will do is it will open VS Code and it will open that folder inside VS Code. So yes, I trust the authors. Now we can create a new file and let's name it index.php. So this will be our PHP file right here. And after doing all of this, it's time to write your very first PHP script. In index.php, we have to type this, an angular bracket, an open, PHP, and our PHP code first. So let's say echo hello world. And after we're done with our code, we can type out question mark and then close the angular bracket. So this tag right here tells the server to start interpreting the PHP code, and this tells it to stop. So echo inside PHP is used to output text onto our web page, and it is interpreted as HTML when it is printed out. So this line simply prints hello world onto your browser. And yes, this is basically the hello world of the backend universe. Now we'll save this file or save this code onto our file, and in order to run this code or to see the changes of this code on our web page, we have to open our web browser, a new page on our web browser, and type in first of all localhost. So localhost slash the name of our folder inside our htdocs, which was php-basics, and then slash the name of your PHP file. So in our case, it's index.php. Now we have to hit enter, and voila, there's hello world onto our web page. Now keep in mind that we have our Apache server running, so that is why this is possible through our local host. We are locally hosting this web page onto our server, into our local server. So in order to open our web page through localhost, we have to have our Apache server running, and this PHP basics folder should be inside our htdocs folder. So you have to type out the correct folder name, which should be inside htdocs, and the correct file name as well. And you have to use localhost, and XAMPP, that is Apache, should be running. So you have to keep all of those things in mind. In order to avoid index not found or 403 error, you should check all of the things that I've mentioned just before. And after all of this, when you open up this link in your web browser, you should see hello world. And if you see that, congratulations, you have just written and run your first PHP script locally. Okay, after this, just like we used echo to print out hello world onto our web page, we can use another method, that is using print. And just a note, I did not use semicolon in this line, but it is very important to use semicolons in PHP to avoid critical errors. So we'll use a semicolon, and then we'll use the print method. So this is basically a language construct of the PHP, which means it is inbuilt into the PHP syntax. So this can also be used in outputting text. So let's say we type out this is printed with print, a semicolon, and then save. Now this does not update automatically after we save, just like live server if you are familiar with HTML and CSS, but we have to click on reload. So as we can see, this is printed with print is also outputted onto our web page. Now this is printed onto the same line as hello world, and in order to make this print out in a new line, we use the br tag, which is an outdated tag of HTML, but we have to use that br tag inside the string itself. So if we use br inside this string after hello world and save it, then reload, we can see that this line is printed on to a new line. So both echo and print are used to display output, but here's the difference. Echo is faster and can output multiple values, whereas print returns a value, a single value. So you can use it in expressions. But in modern PHP, you can just stick with echo since it's simpler and used more often. Now that was it for today, but before we wrap up, here are some beginner mistakes that you'll want to avoid. First of all, like I mentioned previously, that is avoiding the use of semicolons. So if I remove this semicolon and click on save and click on reload, we can see that it hits us with a parse error and syntax error, and it says that it should be having a semicolon expected on line 3. So before line 3. So this is the number one mistake beginners might make. So you have to avoid this. And another mistake that I mentioned previously is saving files without the PHP extension, .php extension. And another mistake is not starting the Apache server before you load up this localhost link or URL onto your web browser. And the next is entering the wrong URL. Again, you have to name your folders on lowercase and separated by hyphens, or else it'll throw errors like this when you try to load the URLs. So I hope you'll keep these common beginner mistakes in mind and be able to debug your code while encountering errors. So nice work! Today you've just installed a PHP server, written your first PHP script, and understood how PHP and HTML work together. In the next video, we'll talk about variables and data types, how PHP stores text, numbers, and logic so you can start building real functionality. If your script worked as intended, let me know in the comments. Or if you encountered any errors, also let me know in the comments so that we'll be able to help you or guide you through your errors. Hit that like button if you learned something today, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next part. Catch you in episode 2, and until then, bye bye.